Hello everyone and welcome to another Wilds of Eldraine traditional draft. With this time the pack not being the strongest ever, there's no really premium commons in here. There are some good commons for some certain archetypes, for example. The Unruly Catapult can be quite nice. This is in the blue-red deck especially, and this can be good in the aggressive black-red or red-white decks. Hollow Scavenger is basically good in any green deck, but especially in green-black, where you might have more synergy for the food stuff. None of them is a particularly interesting first pick. The rare is, I think all the lands are very good, and you often splash in this format, so this is potentially useful even if you are not black and white. You want to be able to activate it though, but it's still possible even if you are splashing just one of the colors. Use something like Prophetic Prism to get additional sources for the splash color. Shatter the Oath, Sir Armont. I'm actually taking the land here. I think it has the highest upside. You could have taken the green-white build around uncommon, but that's mostly good in green-white. I'm not that interested even in splashing the card. So I think the land is, more flexible pick, and I actually got slightly rewarded here because this is another pack that's not too good, but the Shrouded Shepherd is very good to drop, especially if you can also somewhat reliably cast the Cleave Shadows adventure. I'm definitely taking this after the first pick. The other options are, not amazing. Splash Spellcaster is, I think, good, but 4-drops are so plentiful in relation to the fact that you don't want to play too many 4-drops. It's bad for your mana curve. So early 4-drops usually need to be something that are extremely high quality to make it reasonable to pick them. But here this is a good follow-up for the Restless Fortress, and I of course now want to actually just be black and white. I'm not taking this Virtue of Knowledge. It's not a really good card. It's definitely also not black or white. This can maybe work in some certain decks, but it's not a good card at all. I'm not going to take it here. Whereas, well, this is actually another pack that is not too strong, but I could be going this black and white route here, and from, the options, of course, there are still 4 options, and I like the Conceited Witch most. I think it's just better card than the Parents. Both, are three drops that can give you a roll token, but because this can give it to you when you want, it's much better. 5-drops and 2-drops. Unexciting 2-drop. A decent 5-drop, but so early in the draft that I'm not gonna focus on picking decent 5-drops. Alright, so this okay, this pack is again, not the strongest, but then again in pick 4 you don't really expect to see the absolute strongest cards anymore. There are decent amount of options for me. There are actually 3 different 2-drops for the black and white, and then of course the best card in the pack, which is Sharai, which you can even splash, is another option, but I think I like what I have going on here quite a bit, and now the question is mostly, is it gonna be the Minstrosity or the Battle Nodi? Now there is also a Rat out, which I think is quite okay, but I'd rather have a 2-drop. I like them, both of these, more than the Armory Mice here, but white even has some fairies, but they are not really very good, the 4-drop and 5-drop. I think I'll take the Minstrosity, I like it the most here. And yeah, well, there's no really reason to, move away from black and white. I have a couple of 2-drops here. The 3-drop, the Unassuming Sage and the Wicked Visitor are just not really very high on my list of cards I'm that interested in playing. So I actually do think I'll just take the Not Dead after all. I have already 2-drops, so I don't want to pick these somewhat mediocre ones. I like the Not Dead after all actually quite a bit. And here I do like the Picnic Ruiner as well, but I'm happy to have the still Kellan's Light Blades, which is a totally reasonable pick in most white decks. Maybe not the most aggressive ones. They don't want to play this card necessarily. It's not so good when you're removing blockers, because unless your attacker has trample, you miss out on the damage. But this is good in any mid-range or controlling deck. A lot of red suddenly here. There's an Edgeball pack, the Spear Guard, and the Picnic Ruiner. Alright, I don't know what's up with that pack, but I'm happy I got a decent card for myself there. Now, Gingerbrute, Red Out, Triumphant. This is actually something, I mean, if you could take both of these here, because of course Gingerbrute and the Return Triumphant, or anything that gives a young hero roll token specifically is really good with the Gingerbrute. Now, I don't actually have that kind of stuff. And there's still a Rat Out in here as well. I mean, you could take any of these cards, actually. All of them are reasonable. I do have a Minstrosity, it's pretty decent with the Triumphant thing. I'm gonna take one Return Triumphant over the Gingerbrute now. But maybe now if I see another Gingerbrute, it's a reason to, pick it, because I do have the very good synergy card for it. Another reason to take the Return Triumphant is that I just took a Kellan's Light Blades, and I might want to have some easy bargain fodder, which this, gives. Break the spell, another Light Blades. I don't really think the Savior of the Sleeping is that good. I'll just take another removal spell here. Why not? Archon's Glory. Now, yeah, there are some, playable cards for the other colors. Actually, none of the other 5 cards, other than none of these non-white cards are bad. You could play each of them, but they are not really a reason to move that direction. I can take the Glory. I'm not sure if I'm gonna play all that. But I mean, this is also, a quick study, flick a coin, maybe the Leaving Ambush, they are fine. But an unexciting cards for the most part, so I'm gonna just stick to black and white here. There's not really any reason to pick anything else. I don't really think I'm gonna go the Unruly Catapult route in here, given my first pack here. I'm just taking these and probably going to stick to... I mean, I'm gonna just take the uncommon for maximum vault value and stick to black and white unless the pack, start of the pack 2 really makes me go some other direction. Now this here is first of all a black card. You could play the Expensive Taste, but now it's not that good by itself. I mean, if you can't cast a dragon, it's not really that good. So I'm not gonna do it because the dragon is double caster red, which I won't be able to have. I won't have easy time getting to fix that mana. So I'm of course taking the Princess Takes Flight because this is a really good card, and I have now some bargain. There's an Archon's Glory, couple of Kellan's Light Blades. Now that said, you have to sacrifice this in a pretty specific window. So I prefer having, stuff like Archon's Glory, which you can quite easily bargain when you need to. But still the Light Blades are very good with the Princess Takes Flight, and I can now have a little bit more, I will try to pick more bargain cards that will allow me to sacrifice this when it's beneficial, aka before the 3rd chapter goes to stack. Alright, here I think I have only 3 of these Defense of the Hearts. Sadly I never got to play this. I think this is an interesting card. You can get 2 free any cards, creature card from your deck, just straight to the battlefield. But the opponent can play around this. Now I'm not gonna necessarily splash this. This is better in green decks where you can actually get some big monsters. But I'm not sure I want to play a 3rd copy of Kellan's Light Blades, and the other black and white cards aren't that amazing. I'm gonna just make sure I get to finish the set, of these enchanted cards to these mythic rares. If you have seen my drafts, I will always set the same thing. I'm gonna redraft these mythic rares from the enchantment sheet because they are the most difficult rarity to complete from the set. And I don't think there really wasn't anything that amazing for my deck, so it was almost a free redraft here, I would say. Alright, Dutiful Grieving, the Knight of Doves. I had a black and white deck not too many drafts ago, I don't think. I had this and it did some work. Now, I think the option is between the Knight and maybe the Griffin, which I usually end up cutting. I don't have any 5-drops now though, and I don't have that many enchantments necessarily here right now. So I think I'm gonna try the Griffin now. Okay, some good stuff for other colors are in here. I think the Protective Parents is like the only card I can consider. The Sugar Rush is really a card I have not played. I mean, if you have a lot of those rat tokens, this makes some sense, but even then this is a little bit of a clumsy card. Not the kind of trick you want to play, even though it draws your card, but the fact that it costs 2 mana and doesn't give additional toughness, it's really tough to play that. So I'm gonna take this. I guess I could take the cut in if I wanted to splash something. Actually, that's a good idea. I don't really think I'm gonna play the Protective Parents, but I could play a cut in if I get something else from red 2 and then some ways to fix, which would be that, hard to imagine happening. Yeah, the Protective Parent is really not what I'm needing. I have already, well, okay, only one 3-drop, but I don't think it's a problem to get more 3-drops. Here there are actually 2 good options. There's a Hopeful Vigil. I guess actually 4 now that I have the Princess Takes Flight and I care about bargain spells. But I mean, the Vigil and the Severed are the considerations, and now that I will be playing black and white, I will take the Severed. Sometimes the -1/-1 part is just an amazing effect, especially against something that, like a black red that might have several of those rat tokens. Alright, here I will take Gingerbrute over something like an Evolving Wilds. I already have one Return Triumphant for it, and I have the Restless Fortress. I mean, Evolving Wilds would be great if I knew I'm gonna splash red, but I'm not going to splash just one card. I'll take the Gingerbrute, and now I have a reason to pick maybe another Return Triumphant if I see one. Oh, Imogen's Recruiter, I'll talk about the red splash now. Jeez. Can I go back and not take the Gingerbrute and take the Evolving Wilds instead? I didn't expect to see a pick 7 Recruiter. I'm gonna take it. And I'm gonna just try to fix the red now. Somehow. Man, that card is pretty bonkers. Alright. Man, I'm gonna miss the Evolving Wilds now. Well, I'm not playing any other of this stuff. I'll take 20 gems. Here, Karmic Justice is... I guess it could be a sideboard card, but I don't think it's very likely to happen. The Moment of Valor, though, that's a very good sideboard card against any green decks mostly. Another Light Blades. Yeah, it does work with the Princess Takes Flight. I guess I'm gonna take it, but I'm not sure if I am that interested in it. Okay, Crystal Grotto. Actually, these 2 spells here would be nice, but Crystal Grotto actually functions as a splash for the red. So let's take that, and here it doesn't really matter. But yeah, if I could change the Gingerbrute into a Evolving Wilds, I would play that. Okay, I got another bargain spell. I guess the Princess Takes Flight will be quite nice. I also don't have a lot of black here. You maybe noticed it a little bit earlier, but I do consider these where they are. The Sephiroths also, I do consider these black cards, so that's why I was kind of drafting black and white, even though I really didn't get any black there in pack 2 at least. Nothing that fixes my mana for the red. And there's like well, not an Ego Drain, I'm not a fairy deck. Fell Horseman, Stockpiling Celebrant isn't actually... Well, it does work with the Princess Takes Flight. Yeah, that's enough of a reason to play it. It of course works with Shrouded Shepherd too. You may bounce the creature and recast the -1/-1. Yeah, that's a good enough reason to pick it. And I don't even have that many 3 mana cards now. Okay, Feed the Cauldron. I'm gonna have the removal now. I'm not going to need a 3rd copy of the Archon's Glory. I mean, I might play it if I get it late, just to make sure I have ways to get rid of this card. But now this is just a decent removal spell. I'm gonna pick that one. A Tale for the Ages. I'm not quite convinced this is gonna be good enough here. It's probably not good enough. I don't have that many ways to have enchanted creatures. So I'm gonna take something else, but what it's gonna be... Another Moment of Valor for sideboard. The Tempting Apple. I guess the Candy Trail helps me find my splash for these red mana sources. That's a consideration. I could have also just a Besotted Knight. I'm actually taking the Candy Trail. I want to be able to dig to my fixers. Alright, here I'm gonna take another Grotto. I will need actually 2 drops here now, and I would be very interested in picking the Armory mice. Also the Nightly Valor is actually fine. I don't have more than one 5-drop and one 4-mana card. Although this is, you can count this as a 5-drop. Even if without access to red, I can always make 2/2/2s with this thing. So I'm not that interested in 5-drops, but mostly I want to have the mana fixing. So let's take the Crystal Grotto. Okay, Knight of Doves and Feed the Cauldron and the Hyphen Negotiator. Now these are all good choices. There's also the Break the Spell, which actually, you know, works with the Princess Takes Flight quite nicely, but maybe if I had two of these, maybe I would consider having it as a pick. Now this has Bargain too, so it works with the Princess Takes Flight. And I have maybe some removal. I'm gonna take the Negotiator here now. It is also just a very good card. Wow, another cut in. There's also, by the way, a way to enable splashes with the Collector's Vault, but since I'm splashing the red here and I don't have a lot of these 4-mana cards, I'm gonna play the cut in. I'm not gonna always have access to red on turn 4, especially because the Crystal Grottos make it basically a 5-mana card. I think it's still worth having here. Now I'm just really hoping that I hope that I would have picked the Evolving Wilds, because I think the mana would be very decent if I had the Evolving Wilds, but I don't. So I'm gonna take the mice in here now. I needed a 2-drop, so I'm happy to have it. And return Triumphant. Well, I guess that's allowing the Gingerbrew to shine. If I have 2 return Triumphants, I might consider, assuming all they fit my deck, I might play it. I'm gonna pick it now. Dutiful Griffin. Well, I mean, there's a chance I sideboard it in. I don't think I'm gonna main deck more than one. Yeah, well, you know, let's keep the possibility to sideboard in the 3 Griffins alive. Here, I don't think I need these things. I have enough playables. So I'm gonna take a Moment of Valor as another sideboard card, which can really do nice work. Alright, here I do think I'm still taking the 2-drop. So I pretty much got everything I wanted out of this draft. Doesn't matter, I don't think I'm gonna have space for either of those, and they are not really sideboard cards either. Okay. 25 non-lands. So not dead after all is probably the... Yeah, I have not a lot of creatures. I'm going to cut it. I will play the Archon's Glories because I do have the Princess Takes Flight in here. This I count as a 5-drop, so I'll put that there. And now that is 24 cards. I think I will play the Gingerbrutes because of the double Triumphant thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2-mana creatures still, although sometimes you want to leave this for later, but there's at least the option to have this on turn 2. How many bargaining cards that is? That is 6 bargaining cards plus the stockpiling Celebrant, each of which is gonna work with the Princess Takes Flight quite nicely, so I do think I have enough synergy for this thing. Although half of my bargain cards are of course a little bit risky with the Princess Takes Flight. There's a chance that the opponent doesn't attack or block, you know, once I have these on the battlefield. But then again, if they don't attack or block, then I don't get dealt any damage, and I also get to deal damage with my own attackers. So the question is, am I going to play... I think I have to play 17 lands. I mean, because I have these 5-mana creatures, yes, indeed. And then I still have a little bit unreliable mana, so I might even want to play 2 mountains with this deck, but I still want to have enough ways to cast the few... How many other... Yeah, the black cards are so few here. I guess I could have moved to red and white, and I just was somehow too focused with the Shrouded Shepherds because I didn't really realize very early that I have so few black cards. I have the Minstrosity early, and then I was like, okay, now I'm black and white. But I don't know, did I pass something crazy good from red? I did take the cut in and the Recruiter. Alright, well, it's too late now. Anyway, I maybe will check the draft log and see if I was just too early locking into my colors. But I definitely didn't pass anything like a Thoughtsty Tower. I guess there was like a Ratcatcher trainee, very nice 2-drop from red. So this could have been maybe just a red and white deck. But it's now black and white. And the question still is how many lands and which is gonna be my final cut. I think I want to play the Dutiful Griffin. I have nothing from 4, because if I cut too many of these 5-drops, I have pretty small creatures left. And that can be problematic. Now the Candy Trail is also, of course, a card you can consider as a sort of a land drop too, so I could play 16 lands and the Candy Trail to make sure I still hit my land drops, because Scry 2 and draw. This is basically one card that lets you dig 3 cards deep. First with the Scry 2, if you fail to see like a land or non-land depending on what you want, then you can still draw it, sack it to draw a card. That will cost you 3 mana, of course. But effectively this is a 3 mana Scry 2 draw a card, which you can split, the cost you can split with, by 1 and 2. So I could see maybe not playing more than 16 lands with the Candy Trail. I could also just cut it, but I think it's more important to have the Scry potential to actually find my red source. Let's see what the mana looks like. If I put these lands, and let's try with 2 mountains. I'm actually, with this amount of red, I'm happier with 2 mountains, and I don't need that much black. Now I have a black 2-drop, black double caster, and I want to be able to cast these Cleave Shadows adventures when the situation presents itself. I don't want to have the opponent have like 3 1000 creatures on the battlefield and me not having access to black mana, so I need to really have access to black mana. But what is the minimum amount? With the Crystal Grottos, that is not so tough. This is already 6 ways to get black mana from the lands alone. And then of course this scrying helps also to find the black sources. And I do need 2 for this 5 mana card, so with the Crystal Grottos it's pretty awkward to try to cast this. This would be a 6 mana card if I use 1 Crystal Grotto to cast it. So this is only like 4 black mana sources for this Negotiator, otherwise it's going to be a 6 mana card. So I kinda want to do this. At least it's 5. And now this would leave 7 basic planes in the deck. And with the Restless Fortress, that's still 8 ways to get a 2-drop. And if I have a Candy Trail in my starting hand, that's also kind of, helping me to dig into a planes. I can of course have a Crystal Grotto, but it's not really good for 2-drops because, this fixing comes at a cost. You have to pay an extra mana to get the fixing happen here. But you have the ETB Scry too. I think 7 planes is gonna have to be enough. I want to play this amount of swamps and also this amount of mountains, because this is only 4 ways still to get the red mana. And I'd rather play the cut-ins at 4 mana. With Crystal Grottos it would be 5 mana, but yeah, if I could change, I would take this away and have an Evolving Wilds and maybe reconsider playing at least both of them. But with the 1 Ginger Brute, I'm gonna play the Double Triumph Return, also because it's very good with, not very good, but it's definitely decent with a lot of my other cheap cards too. So this is the main deck. Well, that works quite well. Paid 3 colors get rewarded. Okay, I'll put it mulligans to 5. So I think my plan is quite easily the Frostbridge Guard and then this maybe later. Because even if you don't use the -1/-1, you'd prefer to play this card so that you have someone else that you're gonna use for the pump ability. Alright, well that's they are blue-black. They could counter a spell, so I think it's just better to kill that Likeness Looter. Just get a nice 2-for-1 here. Plus I can get it back with the Celebrant, although the Celebrant will be very good with the Princess Takes Flight as well. Let's see if they go for the card draw. No, there's a tabby there. Yeah, this is I mean, I guess I'll just... I'm not gonna give them the effect from the lectern. Now, as long as they don't counter the stockpiling celebrant. Well, they won't. I missed the, of course, the chapter 2, but that really is not relevant here because the opponent mulliganed to 5. They are now... I have 2 black mana here. I mean, they are just out of cards, and of course, I might just... I mean, this is just pretty tough for them to climb back from. I even have the Archon's Glory here, which I could use to eat the Transmuter, but it's a bit risky because they drew something. It could be an instant speed trick here. So, and yes, the Archon's Glory is also a way to get rid of the Princess Takes Flight. I can just use a cut in to deal with the Transmuter. And this thing, you know, can get dead touch, so don't think I want to trade with it. That said, I could. It's gonna trade with something anyway, and this is just 3-2. So let's make it use mana. You know, if they drew something that's gonna cost more than 2 mana. Oh, they are not going to... What's this? They could have given this. This gains death touch. If they just use 2 mana for it. I was totally willing to trade with it, so that they have to use 2 mana. And then... I wouldn't be playing the cut in right away, but I would have played maybe like the Frostbridge Guard and maybe give it this thing. Because I would want to play the cut in so that I have a creature on the battlefield. But anyway, that happened, and now we go to next game. They are blue-black. Assuming they're gonna keep a 7 card hand, this is gonna be a more difficult thing to beat. But I already saw 2 one-toughness creatures, so my Shrouded Shepherd, which I have at 2 copies, is gonna be quite nice. There's no need for the Moment of Valor. Black can have a bunch of removal, but blue can have a bunch of bounce, so I'm not excited about the Not Dead after all. I don't think anything in the main deck is particularly bad. So, I mean, in this matchup, I will still play the one Dutiful Griffin. And definitely Moment of Valor is not something you want to have against the blue-black deck. There's not many things you can kill. There's a Belluna's Gatekeeper, and then there's the 5-drop Death Toucher. That's 4/5 from black, but I'm gonna just keep the same deck, and if it goes to game 3, I definitely will have more information about their deck and I can make better sideboarding decisions. Okay, well, this is a hand I wouldn't keep, but the Recruiter is really good. I have 4 ways to find a red producing land. Okay, I'm gonna keep it because of the Recruiter. If it was something less good, I wouldn't. And this is also not the most... Okay, at least I get to scry here. Okay, well, you know, I was gonna say it's not the most exciting 3-drop, but I would have to play it if it was the only option, but of course I was able to scry into this 2-drop. They can do stuff with the Likeness Looter. Won't be killing it this time, at least not yet. They can either attack or loot. It doesn't have Vigilance. But they can loot at the end of my turn. The second ability is only a sorcery speed activation. Okay, so they prefer dealing 1. They don't want to loot. So that means they have a good hand. They have no interest in improving the hand in any way, which is a little bit scary for sure. Alright. They could have actually gone for, you know, these, and I guess they want to have the 3-drop, a blocker here. I mean, I might as well attack here, but there's no way they are not going to block, because the reason they didn't crack it pre-combat to give this a counter is to block here. And there's no point for me to use this thing. I'm not going to bounce this just to scry. It's a little bit of inefficient use of mana. I know the scry 2 could be valuable, because let's say I draw a land. I have no play for the next turn, but I just hope that I have a non-land draw here. Because if I bounce this, I don't even have an attack. Now at least I have 2, 3 power creatures I can maybe attack with. Well, they can also play some blockers too, but I just hope that I don't draw a land. I have 10 lands in the deck because it's 16 total. But that's only 1 in 3 chance. Now imagine I bounced my Minstrosity. Now they would bounce the Celebrant too. That would be awkward. And I didn't even draw a land. But now the question is... I mean, if they have the spell stutter, they can just counter a spell regardless. I guess they can't counter the witches. If I play a land first, because I would have to pay 3 if they have a counter. Because it's so valuable to get this guy have the 4th power. They couldn't block with the Lectern, but I'm thinking about a Candy Crabble, because I could play these to kind of try to see if they have a counter spell. But I guess I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm gonna just do this. If they have a Candy Crabble, then they have a Candy Crabble, and they did not. Okay, that actually can't be used. That can't be activated as a source, as a instant. It's just, I mean, they maybe thought that they can sack this, but it's activated only as a sorcery. Alright, I'm gonna play the menace guy here for sure. Interesting that they actually jump blocked it. There's gonna be some kind of explanation for that now, isn't there? I don't know. It seems like it's not really making too much sense given that they are at 20 life now. Okay then. Nothing yet. They discarded their land. They might be a little bit flooded out. They can have this happening. Well, I'm gonna put some stops here, so I'm actually, pretending that I have some instant speed stuff here. Alright. I would like to have the Recruiter, but if they have a counter spell, I actually prefer them to counter the Griffin here. I also don't want to play these ground guys because they can play these on the next turn. This is a flyer, so if they don't have a counter spell, they actually still have to deal with their Griffin somehow. But they did. I'm still gonna win with the Recruiter if they can't counter it. So we'll see. Also, if I can still attack with my Menace guy, I'm happy to trade with the Looter here. No, they actually are not happy to. They can of course turn it into a bigger thing, but not now. I could even just play a 2-drop like a Monstrosity and the Recruiter, but that's not lethal. Because of course this gives haste to everything. So if I do that, because with a land drop I can do that, even though this would cost 4 mana now. This can deal 5. This can deal 3, that's 8. They go to 6 and they can block one of these guys. Monstrosity, for instance. It's kinda tempting because there's a chance that they can, counter the Recruiter once they untap. But getting a 2/2/2 is just so valuable. But if I play Monstrosity and the Recruiter, they will actually go to a very low life total. But they can still stabilize from there. So I'm gonna just attack for 2 and get the 2 knights here. And this can come back to me. I have to sacrifice 2 enchantments. But I have only 1 currently, so it's not gonna come back now. Oh, that's gonna be a bad one for them. I mean, I guess if they do have a spell stutter, then it's not because I'm not gonna play these first and then the Monstrosity. By the way, if I draw a mountain, then I can play both the guard and the Monstrosity. That would be very good. But this would be my last card to play, and they have 2 fairies, so spell stutter basically counters anything. That's gonna be a nice one too. But I mean, I'm going to try this, of course. they do have something. So it can be a counterspell, but if it's not, then this is basically winning the game. That is a spell starter specifically. So that's a little bit awkward, but they still have only 2 blockers, so I could attack with everything. They will... I mean, the options are to attack with everything, and they eat the Celebrant, and then, you know, take 6. This has a Wicked token, so they would go to 5. I have this thing here, it can eat even a token. I have a Tapper coming up. Or I can just attack with the Witch here. But they just drew 3 cards, they're gonna drop more things. Okay, I'm going to sack my Celebrant here. This is gonna do some nice damage to them. Especially because I do have the Negotiator here, so... Even though they can kill one of... They can of course jump with the Looter too. But I wouldn't mind if they jump with a blocker here. That means 1 fewer blocker for next turn. Okay, that is totally fine. They're gonna make final loots in here, and they go to 7 now. And as long as I can dodge another counterspell, they are effectively at 4. I mean, I will lose this token and this token, but the Minstrosity is gonna die at some point, or maybe, and then it will create a food token. And I still have, you know, I can always sack these 2 too. Okay, they actually did... they did actually discard a Snare Master Sprite. That would give them some time. For 3 mana they have a blocker and a stun on one of my creatures. But they chose to do that. Okay, that is a little expensive, I guess. Well, they have definitely... Okay, just to diminish the Witch. Okay, so they have 3 blockers now, and they make the Witch into a 1/1. Okay. So it still has Menace, but it's no longer lethal with the... If I attack with everything, what's gonna happen is that they are going to use the Witch to block the 2/2, and these guys are gonna eat my 2/2 tokens. They go down to 6. And then the Negotiator isn't going to be enough. But I'm gonna do this, and I feel like I don't want to show them the Negotiator. I like to have the Tapper. I will have the Swamp in hand because they might have the discard 1 card effect. They might have the discard 2 cards effect too, of course, but at least I can play around 1 discard effect in the format. But yeah, there was an option to... I of course can't sack the Curse token because it's controlled by them, but I could have sacked one of the 2/2s to just play the Flyer, because of course this Flyer is, you know, they can't block it currently. But the thing is, they had still 2 cards, and I drew another one. If they were top decking, it would be different, because this would be like a 2-turn clock, and they were tapped out, so this would have resolved. But now that I, you know, they are not top decking, they can still have answers or blockers. And I'm not in any kind of a hurry here. I don't actually care if they get Sorcerer roll tokens on their guys. They are big enough to make it awkward. Okay, they bounce my tokens now. Well, that's gonna deal with 2 of my creatures, but... And they had... This is the one effect I had played around by not using the... You know, by not playing the Swamp. But they are now actually... As long as the Minstrosity is gonna die... Huh. I can use the Negotiator, but I'm not going to really block with it right now, am I? No, they are almost top decking now, but they do have this Scry 2 here though. Because if I take this, what would be my next turn? It wouldn't be that great actually. Okay, let's buy some time. Let's use this, and then I can use the Negotiator here. Oh, return Triumphant. That'll be good. Oh, I can return a Recruiter. Now, it's actually not... Yes, it is. Oh, they just lost the game. No, yes, yes, I do have the mana. This doesn't require white. Yes, this is the correct way to... Wow, what a draw. I didn't even realize that this actually is gonna be good with the recruiter. Okay then. Game is over. Because, you know, I got the haste also for the negotiator here. Nice. Okay, not going to keep this kind of a hand. I don't even have a Return to Triumphant in here, because if I had, that would be a little easier to keep. But you know what, I'm gonna keep it anyway, because I mean going to 5 is always pretty awkward, and this has a... I mean, this is not a bad hand if I draw a land, because I can cast all these 2-drops, and I have this little damage dealer here, but of course... I mean, I saw a 1-lander mulliganed into a 1-lander, so that's of course like a very, very non-gamey. Alright, but this is fine. I don't care if they block. I can play my Armory Mice here. And then I can maybe start using these light blades. Now the problem is, of course, if they kill my 1 creature, then I have no damage output, but then that's what happens. And now if I draw a Return Triumphant, that will be quite nice. Okay, blue and white. Yeah, I could kill it in response to not deal with this, but it's a 6-drop, and this could be my only play now. And it kinda is, but this wasn't a bad draw. The thing is though that with the Kellan's light blades... Okay, well, do they have a land drop? No, they actually didn't. So that's kind of good news, because now they are not getting these 6-drops anytime soon. But I really don't know if I want to do this right away. It depends really on what they have. You know, if I exile a token, that's gonna be fine. Transmuter, alright. Yeah, okay. I mean, the -1/-1 isn't gonna be that amazing here, so I'll just do this and deal 3. They are, you know, stuck at 3 lands, but of course, once they get the 4th one, the Transmuter is going to... Okay. So now with that, I'm just gonna play the Feature Cauldron. It's probably the only target they're gonna have for it. So let's keep dealing damage. This is a weird game because they are stuck at 3 and they... But I mean, given my hand here, this is actually quite fantastic. If they drop a land and have the Transmuter, I will just use the Princess Takes Flight. Or that thing. I mean, kinda. No, I could just No, thing is, if they don't have a... Oh, okay, I mean, if they don't have a creature on the next turn, it doesn't matter. It's time to do this, because I can also do the Armory Mice here, of course. And this way they are gonna be dealt, you know, 3 damage going to 7, and I have the +2/+2 now coming up. But the thing is, if they don't have now a blocker... Oh, well, that's really convenient, isn't it? Because now I can use the Arcan's Glory. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use it on this turn. I mean, they are dying, so yes, I don't have to. So light blades on that, and then I will try to win. I don't think they can do anything with 1. Blue here. Alright. Well, that was a game. So I kept 1-lander after mulliganing a 1-lander into a 6-card 1-lander, but did immediately draw the lands. I actually had no issues whatsoever with my land draws here. I just drew the lands I needed. And going to 5, always requires you to be a little bit lucky too, so I don't think it was a bad keep, because I'd really had a hand that if I draw any land, doesn't matter which of them it is, I had the one drop, and then I can have like 3 additional spells that are castable. Okay, so they have 2 of these gatekeepers, and then one of them was the 3/4. Alright. I also saw them having the Kellan's light blades. It makes the not dead after all like slightly more interesting. Now how about the Moment of Valor though? There is a destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, so it doesn't work against the Transmuter, which is a 3/4. Not 4 power. But of course they have a couple of these 6/5s. But am I supposed to win before they can cast a 6/5? Now this does have another mode too. Untap, +1/+0, indestructible. It also works actually against the Kellan's light blades, so I could maybe play one of these. But if I play one of them, what do I not need? That is the problem here. I don't actually think that any of my cards are that bad. I guess the Feed the Cauldron didn't see more than a couple of targets, so I could see cutting a Feed the Cauldron and I will play the Moment of Valor. Of course, I assume them to have 2 and 3 drops. I saw 2 3-drops from there, but I guess I have still, these Kellan's light blades function quite nicely against 2 and 3 mana creatures as well. Just like this thing. Alright, this is the sideboarding. I will put one of those. Moment. What's the card's name? I actually forgot. Anyway, the thing that can kill a 4-power creature. Alright, this starting hand is gonna be good. Enough. It has its issues. It's 2 uncastables in there, but also 3 castables. So and this aggressive 1-drop, which depending on how it goes, can deal quite a bit of damage over the course of a game. I saw a 1 toughness creature. I think I'm gonna wait for one turn here, because they might have the 2/1 flyer at 3, and then this would be very nice to use, this thing. Exactly. So let's get rid of it. Okay, now I do think I'm just going to do this and forget to give it. I'm gonna forget to give it haste. Yeah, like this. I'm gonna use the light blades here, of course. This is a 3/3, so it doesn't die, and I didn't really have anything to bargain with, so I'm happy to have this dealt with. Now I have this 5-drop coming up. I kept a 2-lander, by the way, and on turn 5 I have 5 lands on the battlefield. That's pretty nice. Well, this has bargain, so I have very good synergy for this thing. I am going to actually offer the trade here on the Ginger Brute. I fear they're gonna have a dutiful Griffin countered here, but I'm not gonna not play this thing. Yeah. Also, if I have another enchant, this doesn't actually draw a card when they target a tapped creature. It only is when you tap an untapped creature. So, well, I mean, even if they counter the negotiator, it doesn't counter the bargain. So I think it's just safest to get rid of this right away. Now the thing is that if I can draw another enchantment somehow, I can actually use this, sacrificing the Princess Takes Flight and some other enchantment I might have. That's fine. Oh, I do miss out on the damage there, but But now it's just gonna be, of course, like this. No counter spell this time. Alright. And I can always get the 2/2s here, even if I never see red mana, so it's not a bad splash in a base white deck. Okay, they make that into a smaller thing. They again are missing land drops. Well, I'll just get my knights in here. I have these removal spells in here, although there's no bargain fodder for me currently. They can play the transmitter, of course. Okay, they have again more of that stuff. Well, this is... why would I activate this? I don't need to activate anything, they have no blockers. Okay. Well, at some point they're gonna run out of their answers. And actually I have 2 unblockables currently. I have no really good play for this 10, but I have these light blades which I can use... well, I guess I can use against that thing when it tries to attack, but now I'm gonna do this. I don't wanna let them block anything. That's also only getting the +2/+1 if they tap an untapped creature. So I think I'm gonna use one of these light blades on it. Because they probably wanna play a 6/5 here now. Okay, if I would draw a red land, red producing land, I think I would be winning, but instead I draw... I mean, any spell that's not a second cut in would also work. I have only 1 red spell left in the deck, so everything is castable. But I'm at 20, you know, 3. I can take the hit here, and if I really need to, I can use the Kellan's Light Blade, sacrificing the Gingerbrute to destroy anything. But I will take the hit here for sure. If I just can draw anything, like a red producing land or black or a white spell, that's gonna be good enough. That's okay. So these are gonna deal 9 now. I think I should play the planes, by the way. They have no discard effects in here. Yeah, I know they are now top decking, and I see that they have only that kind of stuff in. I mean, they have only the 6/5 and the 3/4, and they can't even double spell them. So I can do this. And they go down to 5. Now I don't have a lethal attack yet, though. So if I take 9 here now, it's not gonna be... okay, they only do that. Well, you know, I think I can take the 6. I can take the 6. With the tapper around, this is not so bad. Okay. Creature is good. So I'm not going to die to their next attack. I can play the mice. I can use tapper, I can use Gingerbrute's ability. There's no point tapping now the attendants. Yeah, that's just not gonna be useful at all. So let's attack for 1. Well, at least the Gingerbrute is relevant. Of course, if it wasn't Evolving Wilds here, I would have access to these red spells, but this is fine. I actually can use a tapper and still have the light blades if something nasty is about to happen. The light blades is still castable, and I can, if I need to, I can sack the Gingerbrute. So here I will allow them attacking with the both of those guys. I'm gonna go to 2 here. No blocks. Well, they didn't attack with the attendant, so they are gonna go to... I'm gonna go to 5 instead. Okay. Well, I mean, they have one card in hand. Of course, I would win the game if they have nothing. Because I can, you know, do the return triumphant here, which I will. Get this thing back, and I'm gonna give the gingerbread. +2/+2. And I can make it unblockable. Okay. They actually... That is kinda interesting. They didn't... Because let's see, was I gonna take the risk for the victory? Because of course what I can do, just tap the attendants, attack with the gingerbread and the negotiator here. They die if I activate this, which I could do. Now with that plan, I would die if they have, you know, they could have a Kellan's light blades. I mean, among other things. They would kill the gingerbread, and I would have only the armory mice here and the shepherd. And even if I block both the 6/5s in there and they don't top deck anything, I would die. Now, in my case, I would have the Kellan's light blades, and I have the young hero role token to sacrifice, so I actually wouldn't have died. So with all that said, I would have gone for the victory here, because for me not to succeed that way, it would require that they have a trick now and they do draw another trick or interactive spell or whatever. So it was possible for me to just tap down the attendants and active and do this, you know, 4 damage attack here. I have 2 blockers if they deal with the gingerbread, and then I can use the light blade sacrificing the young hero role token to, you know, deal with the 3rd attacker, so that I would still survive, and of course have a little counter attack then. Okay. Well, I don't know if it would have been lethal, but I would have gone for the victory, but the opponent conceded before that. Okay then. Again, I have the 5-drop, but I also have a 3-drop. I'm on the play. So all I need to do is, you know, draw spells or lands that can produce red. 4 of my remaining 11 lands actually can do that. So I'm gonna keep it because the recruiter is so good. I do of course need to curve out while I'm going there, but I mean, if I draw 4 lands back to back, that's gonna be bad no matter what's my hand gonna have here. So I can deal with their early drop with the feature cauldron. This recruiter can be brought back with the triumphant thing, but not before this is gonna be... not before this is in the graveyard. Alright, so another blue-white deck. The mana efficient way here to do things is just to kill this, but they might have a 3 mana creature I'd rather deal with. Yeah, I guess I can take 2 here. Also, I kinda want them to, you know, kill this. I don't know how likely that's gonna be. Maybe they pacify it, and then I sacrifice it, and get it back with the return triumphant. Anyway, on the next turn I can play the feature cauldron and still activate this ability here. So I'm gonna try to deal with the 2/2 or whatever they're gonna play here. So I do have 4 lands that can allow me to cast this thing. Of course I can just cast it on the next turn, the white adventure here. Alright, so again, against the blue deck. Well, it's a little bit annoying, but I'm gonna do this and see what happens. They could counter this, they could bounce this. I guess there's no instant speed bounce, is there? That costs this much mana. Because if they respond to this by bouncing, I will... Okay, just the ass out. But they get Scry too. Fine. This is fine. I mean, them using a counter on this thing is actually quite fine for me. Now I will just feed the cauldron this thing. And next turn I can play the Recruiter, and then at some point I hopefully find one of my 4 red sources. I also have the Candy Trail, which can help dig there. But getting 2 Vigilant tokens isn't bad either. And I guess if they do counter this, then, you know, I can bring it back, but it's not necessarily the greatest thing ever. Without the tokens, I mean. Okay. We'll see what happens. How many spells I'm gonna get countered today? I think in every match. Wasn't it so that even in the first match I got countered? Well, I mean, this is really the only play I have, so I'm gonna do it. Yeah, unfortunately I can't punish them by having curved out, but I kept a pretty risky hand. Alright, now they are. I'm still gonna get the Recruiter, I think. It's gonna be a 4. Yeah, it has the haste and all that. I think I'm gonna take the Recruiter here. They can't block, because this is gonna be a 4-3 now, and next turn it's gonna be a 4-4 still. Again, they don't have any discard, so I'm gonna... And I don't have any looting or such effects, so I might as well play all my lands. Grasp of Fate, okay. Well, I guess I'm winning this race. Well, not anymore. Now they are winning the race. Yeah, I think they are supposed to attack with the 1/1 flyer that can't even block any ground creatures. Am I gonna have a haste flyer coming up somehow? Or are they afraid that I have a flash blocker on it? Or did they lose connection? Because I don't know what are they thinking here. Well, I'll pause the recording until something happens. Okay, they did in fact attack, and I just drew a blank here. So this could be a lost game now. I mean, of course it's too early to say that, but currently, given that they have 4 cards in hand, and I have only basically 1, this is going to be... It's going to require some specific back-to-back top decks from me, and them not having anything too amazing. They countered 2 of my relevant things, and now that I have not drawn really much anything else, it's kinda bad. So they are really just playing instants on my turn, for the most part. And I'm saving for this light blades. I mean, I could kill the 2-2, but of course, this can, with the food token, I can deal with some more threatening creatures. Alright, more card draw there. Yeah, my starting hand, if I knew this is the kind of a double ice out deck with this expensive card draw, I wouldn't have kept a starting hand that doesn't give me an early board presence. But it was against an unknown opponent, so I think the hand was good enough of a keep against an unknown opponent. But against this opponent, I definitely need to of course get an early board presence, because they will just outdraw me. Okay, they get to draw a card from that thing now. Yeah, I think the game is over now, basically, because they still have all these cards. Okay, I'm not gonna beat them with just lands. Even the red mana isn't gonna help me. Red producing land, I mean. Alright, so Well, I'm not going to have the moment of valor against this opponent. Couple of hopeful vigils. So is there something that's gonna be bad again? I don't think there is. I'm a little tempted to play 2 Dutiful Griffins. But it's also a very good target for their counter spells. And I don't have anything cheap here to add to my deck, so I think it's just gonna be the same deck now. And that's... I have actually drawn my 1 of Gingerbrute quite a few many times, and it's potentially quite relevant of a card. Because it's basically unblockable. Of course, this hand now has other good things going on for it. And I'm gonna play this most likely on turn 2. Just to keep doing maximum damage here. And of course, there's the Princess Takes Flight into Celebrant play if they have a 2-drop here. Well, they do, but at least I still have a creature here. Okay, I'm very happy about this draw, because I want to add to the board, but of course I didn't want to play the princess in an empty board. That would be nonsense, and this also, I don't want to waste this ETB. Although they might counter this, but whatever. I mean, I'm still gonna try to make it work, if I can. Maybe they have like a hopeful vigil. Then I can exile a creature token, and of course that's never gonna come back, even if the chapter 3 resolves here. Okay, they have that. Well, okay, I'm gonna just play this because I don't have two black mana here. I wanna just add it to the board here. I need to have a good board presence when they are trying to hold up Eyes Out. Okay, they have all this removal here. Well, I keep drawing more red, so that's pretty nice, but I hope they have run out of their removal so I can actually use the Princess Takes Flight here. Just play the Threadbind Click, or whatever, 4 mana creature, tap out completely. No. They have a Hopeful Vigil. Now, okay, well this changes things a little bit. If I had 5 mana I could just bounce the mice, of course, but here let's just get rid of this thing right now. And hope they don't have interaction on the guard here, because it's going to deal 4 in the air, maybe even 6. Okay. And okay, so they actually had it all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 removal spells in top 13 cards. Wow. Well, I can't deal that much damage now. That's frustrating. Doesn't matter which this is gonna target. And yes, I know I can return the Princess Takes Flight, but I don't even know if that is what I want to do here. Maybe it still is. Returning a creature would be nicer if I was able to recast it on this turn, but I can't. So let's just have another go with this thing. Get the scry regardless. Okay, well, I guess I could need double black because I have the 1 fairy 5-drop that requires 2 black, but I'd rather not draw another useless land. But of course the mountain is far from useless because of the cut in my hand. But yeah, they have a lot of removal. But let's see if they can. Okay, 2 cards in hand and 1 in exile. If they just play the click, I wouldn't mind, because of course I can just kill it with 2 different means. Oh, come on, you're kidding me. I mean, they just drew all the removal. So in the first game they drew the 2 critical counter spells. Now they actually drew all the removal. Wow. That's actually ridiculous. That is incredibly ridiculous. They have drawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 removal spells in top. I mean, and 5 lands, and well, basically 6 out of the 9 cards have been removal that are not lands. Well, I mean, there's no rush for me. My guard can tap, but of course that won't happen many times because they can exile it. But I can still use the tap ability once I can, as long as I can. I would really want to have a creature on the battlefield before playing the Princess Takes Flight, though. I did draw a swamp despite scrying 1 on the top. So this is kinda awkward. I'm going to wait. I know I could cut in the click, but I can just tap it. Because I would really want to have the, the roll token. On something. Okay, I guess that's going to. Well, let's see what I draw. I mean, I was basically I was about to win, but of course. They just removed every creature I had. And they haven't run out of gas either. And I fear now they have ice outs in their hand. So once they start keeping mana up. Okay, well there's a Minstrosity now, so this is good. I totally expect them to, deal with the Minstrosity as well, but at least they couldn't counter now anything. I can, by the way, exile my own creature, which I didn't even realize earlier. Because then I don't want to, of course, sacrifice this. Well, let's see the scry first. Okay, nothing. Now with the Sharai, of course. Don't really think I can afford to do that. I do this. And, well, okay, hatching plans. Yeah, they have also this as a card draw effect. Okay, the opponent just had a very, very good draw in this flop, second game. And I had a, bad keep. Well, not a bad keep, but an unfortunate keep against this opponent in the game 1, so I didn't really stand much chance. And now... Okay, that's actually... No, I mean, I'm not in a great shape. I of course have a victory here if they had nothing, but it's really unlikely. Because he's gonna pick up a counter now, but let's see what happens. I assume they have like a return. I mean, they have like the destroy an attacking creature, sacrifice hatching plans to the bargain effect. But this is now, I can deal 8 damage, but of course they have at least a counter spell. So I don't even know if I want that to really happen. I guess I could have done this. Oh my, I made a huge mistake. I was absolutely supposed to use Return Triumphant on this thing pre-combat. Give this +2/+2. So that if they have a counter spell, they have to counter that. And then I can kill them with the Archon's Glory. Okay. So I think I had to win here, because they're gonna have an Ice Out now. I made a mistake. I still do this to, get rid of this enchantment here, but they're gonna have an Ice Out and they're gonna sacrifice a Hatching Plans for that. They're gonna go to 2 and have a handful of things. Well, no. I mean, that was a very likely thing after seeing 2 Ice Outs in game 1. But I made I just didn't realize that this actually threatens action from them. The +2/+2. Because it was very likely they have an Ice Out there, and I would have been able to beat them through an Ice Out. But, well, that was an interesting way to win the game. Well, there's still a match number, the last game of the match. Now, this is actually not gonna be that good, because it's a spell or an ability they control destroys a non-creature permanent. Well, I mean, it's a non-creature permanent. I didn't even realize that. Who cares about non-creature permanents getting destroyed? Well, I mean, it doesn't work against the pacifism effects, of course, but that was weird. I mean, this is just this does nothing. Alright, anyhow, what is my sideboarding now that I know they have a lot of those pacifism effects? Well, first of all, the Celebrant is actually quite good against them. And I can also save my own creatures from the pacifism by using this card. Because I can exile my own thing, and it will return in chapter 3. So let's not forget that, like I did in the previous game. Moment of Valor doesn't help against the removal they have. It's too clumsy to play the Griffin here. I need to have these early drops and feed the Cauldron, not dead after all. Yeah, I do think this is just it's the same deck. Okay, well, I don't think, like I said, I need to, against this opponent, have early game plays. So let's mulligan that. Another hand with only planes. Sadly, Dutiful Griffin, it's just gonna get removed, isn't it? And I have only 2 lands, so I'm gonna cut that. But now I have at least here stuff to play. Alright. Well, I kinda want to have them both. Yeah, I'll have them both. I need a land, even though it's just another plains, and then of course against all the pacifisms I saw, I'm definitely going to have the Celebrant to save my guys from them. I think I'm gonna block here. There's not much point taking the damage. It has Vigilance, it will block my guy anyway, and I'm not gonna use 3 mana to... Not going to use 3 mana to to tap their stuff. I will just try to kill the sentry right now. They paid for no reason. Okay, interesting. Because they doesn't get the pump effect unless they also, you know, have something to tap. Interesting. I don't know why they paid for it. Okay, two options. I will just draw the card, hoping to hit the swamp, of course. Or I can do this, bounce it, scry 2. Then I lose the ability to make this into a thing that saves my stuff from a pacifism. So I think I want to have that value there. Well, that's that. I'm gonna play this guy because I don't get to do anything else, and I can, you know, return this guy if they play something that makes me want to cast the -1/-1, but I don't think it's gonna happen that easily. Okay then. They have too much card draw now. They have too much card draw. Okay, this is not good. I mean, I know they have. Well, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something. I accept losing this game if I don't get to, you know, do any of this stuff. Okay, the Crystal Grotto gives me all the colors. So how important is an Arcan's Glory? Not very important right now. I need creatures and removal, not pump spells. This thing has a ward, of course, so I actually can't use the cut in now. But it's a good start. I can play the Monstrosity. And I can hope that they don't have any other tapping effects, because if they do, they get to draw cards from the Harassed ability. Okay, so there was the Celebrant, which could have saved my thing from a cooped up, but such is life. Okay, Return Triumphant will be good enough in here. Especially because it can already return something, but let's just do this and the Cepheid. Maybe I should have played the Cepheid first. Then again, I don't know if it matters. They can counter it. I can bring it back with the Return Triumphant. They sack the Hopeful Vigil for a scry. How do they scry here? One to top. Yeah, this actually doesn't do much. Well, it does enough that, I mean, let's say they play this Besotted Knight on the next turn. Then I can at least play the cut in killing the knight and giving this the young hero roll token. Because I can't kill this because I would need another mana to pay for the ward. Grotto already makes this into a 5 mana card. And I know I'm not going to draw a land. So I really hope they just play the 3/3 there. That would be the absolute best outcome for me. I guess if they don't do that, then I'll just get the Monstrosity back with the Return Triumphant. Not the worst. But I would really want to get rid of the Sharai as well. Because it can, you know, draw them more cards. I also know they have like a Hatching Blast, they have the 5 mana draw 3, and then they have the 4 mana instant rare that checks, you know, it basically draws 2 with selection. So let's see how this goes. Okay, they play the knight. So now, I mean, pretty much the only thing that keeps me going is this. Alchemist into counterspell. Okay, well that's not so dangerous actually. Well, there's the red mana now. So if I can draw my second cut in, that would be great. Now what they can do is they can draw cards by tapping the Celebrant. Not much I can do about it. Yeah, because they can use the Sentry's ability, of course. And they can counter my kill spell, so that's not so great. Almost tempted to take the cut, the Frostbridge Guard, because this engine is gonna keep them drawing cards. How good is the... Well, the Minstrosity isn't the worst, because it will also get the Young Hero Roll token, and it will be attacking as a large creature. Okay, I'm gonna take the Minstrosity. I'm going to do that exact thing, but now I can't prevent them from drawing a card from the Shara. We can also do that. Well, this only draws one card a turn, so it doesn't matter if they now... use the Sentry here to tap the Celebrant. It would get another +2/+1 though. And, well, let's see if they're gonna... No, they're not gonna... I can't kill it now. I know I could sacrifice something, but of course they have the counter spell, so it wouldn't work. Now I would need something like Imodane's Recruiter, and I'm not sure if that's even gonna be enough. Okay, they have sort of everything there. I'm gonna go for the attack and use the Light Blades, because I don't think the Negotiator alone is gonna be good enough. It's not. So now that they don't block their... Oh, I also don't have the double black for it. So that it wasn't even a consideration. Okay. Yeah, I'm not beating them. I'm not beating them. Yeah, they can still tap if they want to. But problem of course here is that they will counter this. But I guess that's the only thing I can do. I will lose the game otherwise, so hopefully they don't counter this. But this will be a 4-power creature. I take 7 now when they counter this one. And then pay for the ability. Maybe they are playing around. So now I put the stops in here, so I will have... Okay, they actually went for the very safe play. And they could have still... Okay. Okay. I mean, that actually makes sense. They can afford, with the hand they have, they can afford to play around things. They only need to counter with the eyes out something that's absolutely crucial to counter. Well, that's actually my way to cast the Negotiator, but of course I don't have a... I mean, they have the counter spell, so... Let's see, I'm gonna not need that card. I will attack here. They should go just to 8. And then... I would be very surprised if they block here. Then there's nothing. They have an eyes out. I can play this, but it doesn't matter. Because it gets countered and then I have nothing. Alright. I still won the game too. That was despite making actually the mistake in the last turn, but the opponent had a really interactive deck, and it was very hard to try to beat them if I had any struggles with my own things, and I didn't have the most reliable mana. Did I ever get to have the Restless Fortress? At least not so that attacking with it was an option. So I think I dodged my first pick here. And in the end, maybe the deck wasn't really as cohesive as I would have liked it to be. And I think the blue matchups are not really the greatest for this kind of deck. Maybe. If I can curve out early then yes, but if not, then it's gonna be a little bit problematic, because they can counter my nice synergy effects, and that's, for example, the Recruiter. Something like a, any deck that doesn't have counter spells is gonna have a lot more difficulties dealing with the Recruiter, because they will have to deal with the 2/2s and then whatever else I have on the battlefield. So this is gonna be very good against spells, decks that can't counter it. Anyway, I think the deck was still good enough to win the 2 wins, and maybe the 3 wins would have required getting a little bit more lucky, because it wasn't like the most consistent and strong and synergistic deck of all times. So I'm happy with the 2-1 result. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.